The Volkswagen T5 isn't made anymore, but it's still one of the most popular vehicles to convert into a camper van. But if you're buying one, what should you look out for? This video is full of expert advice from people who've been converting T5s for years.
We still do convert the odd T5 because obviously we do vehicles that customers bring into us as much as we do brand new ones, so the T5 is very much a current thing. It was a completely radical change from the T4, different floor plan, you know, a different layout of size, everything. So it took a bit of reworking from the T4 to the T5 for camper vans. The driving position was different. Moving the gear stick from the floor up to the steering column was a massive fix there, really. The main thing was the engine changes and the gearbox position. So they obviously changed the range of options for the vehicle as well. But it's still, you know, it's always had that sort of continuity between all the models. Really, certain things have remained the same. The T5 certainly was a much easier vehicle to convert. It's a bit squarer, a little bit simpler to convert.
Generally, it was a very popular donor vehicle.
Yeah, T5 was a massively popular vehicle. I mean, T4 was as well. And it's quite strange how each generation holds a sort of position in everybody's heart. So, you know, when the T5 came out, people longed for the T4. Now the T6 came out, then people longed for the T5. So we'll get to the T6.1, so we'll see what happens with the T6. I'm sure it'll be the same. But it's an iconic vehicle. People love it. People just like the vehicle, you know. And I think each generation grows up hankering after the last one. I don't know why that should be, but
And there was an upgrade or a facelift, wasn't there, within the T5? Did that make a big difference to conversions?
Yeah, well, not to conversions because really there was a few cosmetic things. The actual physicality of the vehicle stayed exactly the same, but the engines changed. So we went from a 2.5 and a 1.9 to being a purely 2 litre, and that was the big change. It was almost a step between the T5 and the T6. It was somewhere in the middle, really. But in terms of conversion-wise, it didn't make a massive difference to us, really. So.
One of the big decisions people have to make if they're going to buy one of those to convert is, you know, what kind of donor vehicle are they going for? It might be a bus, it might be a van, it might be a combi, or what it could be many things.
Yeah.
Can you give me a guide as to which one's the easiest or the best?
The best vehicle to convert is a combi. So the combi is basically with, you know, windows in the centre, and, you know, panels in the back, mid-row of seats, but it's basically a panel van that's slightly up-spec'd. It's a nice simple van. You've got all the floor fixings, so you can take the seats out quite easily. You can get away with not putting windows in the back if you want, or you only have to add one set of windows. After that, it would be the panel van, I think, would be the one to go with. But you then start to hit issues over double seats as opposed to single seats, which the combi tended to have. The difficult ones are definitely the Caravelle and the Shuttle, because they've got all sort of electronics and lighting and air conditioning, ducts in the roof. And that's a difficult thing to get around as a converter. Not impossible, but more difficult. So we definitely prefer the combis. Yeah.
And does that mean it's probably cheaper to convert a combi?
Well, yeah.
Less time?
Less time, less work involved in it generally. The vehicle itself will cost the customer more as well. So there's a quid pro quo there, really.
And of course you can get short or long wheelbase versions of most of these vehicles.
Of all of them,
Again, what's the main impact of going for, say, a short wheelbase as opposed to a long wheelbase?
A lot of people will buy a short wheelbase because they have a perception that it's going to be easier to drive or park, which may be the case if you live in the city centre. But it's about what you want to put in the vehicle, I think, as much as anything. You know, obviously you're only talking about 400 millimetres of difference in there, but it gives you a lot extra volume. So it's floor space, it's capacity for carrying. So. But again, you know, it's going to depend on what the customer wants and what the customer wants to do with the vehicle and how you want to use it.
And what do the basic choices of wheelbase, for instance, have on beds and storage and layout and things like that?
In terms of beds, it doesn't make any difference because the beds are the same beds that go into the short and the long. It does obviously give you more capacity, so therefore you can have more storage in the vehicle. I think for most people it's either a choice between sort of manoeuvrability or storage capacity, and I think that's where, you know, I think everybody would like to have a long, but might not feel you can park it in their drive or something like that. So there's always that bit of a play.
And there isn't actually that much difference in length, is there?
It's 400 millimetres.
But it looks a lot more than that.
It does look a lot more, but the 400 millimetres turns into volume when you look at you're adding that 400 millimetres into the centre of the vehicle, not at the end as well, which is, you know, I kind of think people sometimes have a bit of difficulty getting to understand, really. So. So if you're having a rear kitchen, you're always going to want a roof that's going to elevate at the back, or you might want a high top, you know. So again, this will come down to personal preferences for customers, as well as the layout dictates a bit. All of our layouts will work with a high top or a pop top, so you can have either, you know. So, but you know, some people will say, well, I don't want to be bothered with putting a roof up and down. I want an extra bit of insulation that a high top will give. Other people will say, well, I want the convenience of getting under the, you know, some of the barriers, etc. So the pop top suits me. So again, you know, down to what you're going to use the vehicle for.
So if you're going out looking for a T5 to convert,
Yeah.
you've said a combi is probably the easiest option there. What else should people be looking for in a donor vehicle, a T5?
One of the things they need to look at is mileage. That's because that's, you know, that's going to be a key factor. You don't want anything that's going to be 200,000 miles if you're going to spend a bit of money converting it. So people look to find something 70, certainly sub 100,000 miles. Ideally, make sure it's got a couple of single seats in the front. A tailgate in the back's a nice thing as well, because people prefer the tailgate to barn doors. Not essential. And it's condition. It's making sure that it's a good vehicle. It's got a good service history. It's been properly looked after. All things that you can prove. Same things if you were buying a good quality used car to put your family in. You want to make sure it's a safe vehicle, it's well maintained and looked after. So history is the key thing, I think, with that. Yeah.
I gather the internals of a van, if they've been a builder's van and they've had a lot of heavy stuff in them and been bashed about a bit, that kind of can cause a few problems for a converter.
It can, yeah. I mean, we cover most of it. So most of it is going to be, you know, there's going to be carpeting and flooring put on there. So if it's in really terrible rusty condition, you don't want to be, you know, spending the money for a conversion on it. So you're looking for something that's been lined, ideally as well. You know, combis tend to be having lighter use than panel vans. So again, that's another reason to go with the combi. Also, they tend to have better spec. Air conditioning is usually standard in the combi. Not always, so you have to check, but you know, they tend to be a bit more, you know, nicer finish, a bit more car-like than a panel van originally. So certainly on the T5.
And they have proved incredibly popular, haven't they?
Oh,
the festivals are full of them.
Yeah, everybody loves them. You know, I don't know anybody that doesn't like Volkswagen fans. They're a fantastic thing. They're great. They're great for our business. We love them.
We're planning over 100 videos on everything to do with every type of Volkswagen camper van, from the earliest Spitties and Bays to the latest T6s. So please consider subscribing, because it'll really help us get the channel off the ground. And then if you click on the bell icon, we'll be able to tell you when every new video is released. But most importantly, tell us the topics you want us to cover in the comments box below. Thanks for watching.